Hey everyone, it's Jordan. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year Freakout book tag. So last time of the year again, the first half of the year is over, and now I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite books and some of my least favorites and some books that I still want to read before the year ends. And I know everybody has done this every year. Last year I didn't do it just because I thought I would take a break, but now I'm back with this year's mid-year Freakout book tag. I'm just really excited to share you my answers, so let's get to the questions. So the first question is, what is the best book that you've read so far in 2022? This was really hard because this year's just been a slumpy month for me, slumpy year for me, just because I've been busy with all the wedding planning and all that. But I think this book is one of the best books that I've read so far this year, which is Well Met by Jen DeLuca, which is about a woman who's goes in a Renaissance fair and working in a Renaissance fair with her niece, and then she meets one of the guys there, and of course this is romance basically, so yeah, I think this is one of the best books that I've read so far this year. And the next question is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far this year? I've read a lot of manga sequels, so I didn't want to count for some reason, but one of the only sequels that I've read this year that is not manga related, which is Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gunn. I think this was one of the best sequels that I've read so far this year, and hopefully I'll catch up on more sequels this year, but this is one of the best ones that I've read so far this year. And the next question is, what is the new release that you still haven't read yet but you really want to? And the book that I picked for this is These Deadly Games by Diana Urban. This is the same author as All Your Twisted Secrets, which is about a girl whose sister got kidnapped, and a kidnapper made a deal with her that in order to find her sister, she can't tell anybody about it or tell the police about it, or else her sister gets killed. And I'm still really want to read this because I really loved All Your Twisted Secrets, which was one of my favorites from 2020. So yeah, I still really want to pick this up because I'm just really curious about it, and I wish I've been picking this up when I'm in the mood for a mystery, but yeah, I'm still want to pick this up really soon. And the next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And of course, the book that I'm most anticipated for the second half of this year is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shea Ernshaw, which is the Nightmare Before Christmas story, but in Sally's perspective, which I'm just really excited about. And I know as a Disney fan, I'm just like, I really need to have this on my list. And plus, I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and I do hope to read around Halloween or earlier than that, just because I love Sally as a character. Sally and Jack are my favorite characters from Nightmare Before Christmas, and yeah, this is what my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And the next question is, what is your biggest disappointment? You guys are probably going to get mad at me over this book because I know this is so hyped, but I just couldn't get into it, which is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I honestly really tried this book. I gave it 100 page mark, gave it like 100 pages, and I still couldn't get into it. I am sorry that this is one of your favorite books, but I just couldn't get into it. I thought the characters were interesting, but the story itself just wasn't gripping me for some reason. So yeah, I am sorry that this is one of your favorite books, but I just couldn't get into it. I will give T.J. Klune another chance in the future, but this is, I DNF this, so yeah, this is a disappointing book that I've read so far this year, even though it's a DNF, but I just couldn't get into it. And the next question is, what is your biggest surprise? This one's really hard because some books have, usually they do surprise me, but not as much as this book that I'm going to be talking about, which is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I usually like retellings, but this is like an adult fantasy romance retelling, which I was surprised on how much I liked it, because I really thought it was going to be very smutty, but it's actually not that smutty from me reading it, and I really enjoy it, and I can't wait to read more books in the series, because I'm really curious after reading the last chapter of it. I'm just really curious about it. I know there's So the next question is, who is your favorite author, debut, or new to you? I think Courtney Summers by Sadie is becoming my favorite authors, because I really like the audiobooks of Sadie, and this question was really hard because I wasn't sure which author is becoming my new favorite, but I do want to read more from Courtney Summers because I've heard nothing but good things about her other work, one of her other works, even though some of them are mixed reviews, but I'm still curious about it. And plus, I really enjoyed the audiobook for Sadie, and it's definitely one of my favorite books this year so far. And Courtney Summers is a new to me author, so yeah, I'm curious about. I'm just really surprised. This is another book that surprised me on how much I liked it. But yeah, I really want to read more by Courtney Summers. And the next question is your newest fictional crush. And the weird thing is, every year I don't get a new crush, but with this crush, he just reminds me of Kevin, my fiance, my soon-to-be husband, which is Simon from Wilmette. He's just so kind and gentle, and he just really reminds me of Kevin a lot. I know this sounds weird. A fictional character reminds me of my soon-to-be husband, but I just can't help but have a crush on this guy because he reminds me of someone who I'm about to marry. But yeah, he's just reminds me of Kevin a lot. And the next question is your newest favorite character, and I really like Evelyn Hugo from Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I just really liked how she was telling her story about like living in old Hollywood, like in the 50s, and like all the way until like who knows when. And I just really liked, like, even though she's a fictional character, I just really like how she's sharing like her experience with like being as an actress in Hollywood in the early like 1900s. I just really enjoyed that, and that's why I really love about this book is her like telling her story about her life in Hollywood. And yeah, she's a new favorite character of mine. And the next question is a book that made you cry. I don't think any of the books that made me cry this year. There's some that almost made me cry like last year, but this year none of the books made me cry from what I've read. I don't think none of the books have made me cry this year so far this year, just because I don't usually cry in books unless something really hits me, but yeah, none of them made me cry this year. And the next question is a book that made you happy. This one I really can't pick. I would have to pick the few volumes of The Promised Neverland that I've read this year, because I love the characters so much, and I just love their friendship and how they're trying to escape from the orphanage and all that. They just made me happy because I love the characters and I love their friendships. So yeah, I would have to pick the few volumes of The Promised Neverland that I've read so far this year. And the next question is the most beautiful book that you've bought or received this year. And this one's really tough because there's some, I do tend to buy books that have beautiful covers, but there's some that I just pick because they grab my interest. But the most beautiful book that I bought so far this year is Delphine and the Silver Needle by Alyssa Moon. I mean, look at this cover. It's so gorgeous. And for me as a Disney fan, this is like based around Cinderella, except it's told by Cinderella's mice friends, which I'm really excited about because they're some of my favorite characters from Cinderella. And I just love this cover. It's so gorgeous. If there was an art print of this, I would put this in a frame. That's how beautiful this book cover is, and I'm just really excited to pick this up, not just because of its cute, beautiful cover, but also the story itself. And the last question is, what are some of the books that you wanted to read for by the end of the year? And to be honest, I picked like 5 books because I couldn't pick like just one that I want to read. There's like so many that I want to read. Of course, like I mentioned, These Deadly Games by Dana Urban, which is my most anticipated release of this year, which I still want to pick this one up before the end of the year. And then Soul of Sword by Julie Gagawa, because I'm so behind on sequels, it's not even funny. I have a list like maybe 20 or 25 that I'm so behind on. I can't remember, but this is definitely a top priority for me for all the sequels that I want to read. And then there's Beach Read by Emily Henry. I know she has other books, but I do want to read this before reading her other books, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. And the last 2 are also my most anticipated release for This year, One True Loves by Elise Bryant, which is a companion novel to Happily Ever Afters, which I've been really excited about, but I haven't picked it up yet. And lastly, Gallant by V. Schwab, which is another anticipated release of mine that I still haven't picked up yet, which is like The Secret Garden with another thing I don't remember, but I've liked a lot of her work so far. Like, I know that The Invisible Life of A. LaRue and the Cassidy Blake series are some of my favorite books by her, so I do want to give this one. I want to read this before the end of the year for sure. So that's all for mid-year Freakout book type. If you enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up and comment down below what are some of your favorite books this year and some of the books that you want to prioritize by the end of the year. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button and click the bell icon so notify when I post new videos. Also, you can follow me on social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, which all links will be down below for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!